Hey guys, welcome to Chief Pigskin's YouTube channel. You're about to watch a home clinic where we find one quality coach and he talks on one very specific subject. If you'd like to see more of these come your way, please like and subscribe below and check us out at clinic.chiefpigskin.com.
Hey, I'm Daniel McDonald, head coach at Our Lady of Providence High School in Clarksville, Indiana. I am here for Chief Pigskin, and I'm here with Coach Cody Alexander, the author of MatchQuarters.com, the former DB's coach at Midlothian High in Dallas-Fort Worth, and the author of 3 books, all of which I've read and got a great deal of information out of them. Cautious Aggression, Hybrids, the Making of a Modern Defense, and Match Quarters, a guide to split field coverages. Coach, great to have you on. We're going to talk defending the wing T today.
That's right.
You know, I've only had a few experiences defending wing T. I get a lot of spread where I'm from. You know, and you really get, in my experience, you get 2 types of wing T. You might get a wing T coach that's a heavy belly sweep team, and then you'll get a coach who's a heavy trap, buck sweep, counter tag team. The adjustments we've always made against those belly sweep teams is gap them out, bring pressure off the edge, and force them to throw, or really dare them to throw. And then against those buck sweep teams, I had the audacity, or I was naive enough against that buck sweep team to think I was okay in my base. And then what we found out, in my base is a 4-2-5. What we found out was that into the boundary, we were basically just giving them what they wanted. You know, it was a base block on our end. They would kick out our force, and then they'd get up through to our linebackers with that second puller on buck. So talk a little bit about your thoughts on defending the wing T.
Yeah, so I haven't really seen them much here in the state of Texas. We not at the higher class. I've usually worked at 5A, 6A level, so we don't see a ton of wing T. We do see some gun T and some slot T, just and really not pure, just kind of stolen and kind of modified to fit their offense. But in 2015, we ran into Frisco High, who was a true wing T team. Kind of that they would run some slot power, ISO, belly, buck. They kind of did it all. Like you said, you usually get either the belly and the toss, or you usually get the buck and the trap. And so we got it all. So we had to plan for it all. Luckily, my dad, who is a coach in Kansas City, worked for like a wing T guru, a guy that had ran the wing T his entire career, knew everything. And so we're sitting here, and we didn't realize until the very last week of the season who we were going to play. So we find out we're going to play Frisco High, and me and my good buddy, who's now at Plano High School, we kind of look at each other and we're like, what are we going to do? If you follow me at all, you know that I G8 at Baylor. I live in the state of Texas. I know spread really well. You get me out of that, I don't know wing T and things like that very much. So we kind of had to learn on the fly, and we came up with a system that we kind of knew it was a 1-week deal, but we modified it from our 3-4, and we didn't play our base. You know, that was one thing that my dad says, don't play your base. It's kind of like when you go up against a flex bone team, you got to change your base a little bit, but also you don't want to bastardize it to the point where you're basically teaching something brand new.
Right.
But we ended up coming up with like a 6-2, and we modified the secondary, and we did some things to help with the wing and to get a hard edge and things like that. And what we ended up doing was going to more of a 6-2 with 2 eyes and heavy fives, and we just did the whole spill and kill.
Yep.
And my thing that always resonated me with my dad, and what he said from the head coach there, was if you can kill the guards, then they don't have an offense. And so what we ended up doing was with the double G's, we were so heavy on that guard that if they pulled it all, we were trying to cut them. Now here in the state of Texas, we can cut. So I always get the question, because I've talked about the wing T before, I always get the question, well, what do I do if I'm in a state that you can't cut? Well, we tell the kids, really, to be honest with you, we didn't want them necessarily to cut, but we wanted them to explode through the line in a bear crawl as low as they possibly can. Like, famously, I think Stanford, the big 4 down, the big dudes on 4 down, and we weren't very big, and they had a Division I lineman, and so they kind of ran behind. So we were like, look, we've got to eliminate them, and so what we ended up doing with the double G's and the heavy fives and then the sixes. And then what we did is we basically cleared everything out for our two inside linebackers that were kind of small, but they were really quick.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you try to hit us at the point of attack, we funneled everything to them. If you try to hit us on the outside, we had two monster DNs on the outside, and then our heavy, everything was kind of that spill and kill, and then the secondary adjusted. And like you said, you made a good point. If they're not a throwing team, dare them to throw. And that's what we did. And we kind of survived the shots. And I think with that, we kind of just wore them down. They had a 2,000-yard rusher, and I think he ended up only rushing, not even close to being 100 yards.
Yep. One thing, with that buck sweep, if you can get that wing, if you can get hands on that wing and not let him release, now you've got a free Mike and a free safety. You tell those guys, run it down, create that hard edge, like you said.
Right.
So I'm really curious to hear kind of the rest of your thoughts on the wing tee and get some diagrams and really just to see your presentation. Got a lot of respect for you as a coach and, learned a lot from you over the past 4 or 5 years. So
thank you.
Whenever you're ready, go ahead and share your screen and we'll be ready to go.
Okay. All right, so I'm going to go through. I got about 5 tips that I'm going to go through. I've got a couple of diagrams, and I pieced together kind of some clinic clips on some of the top runs that we saw. So starting with tip number 1, keep the plan simple. I actually was lucky enough the past 3 years I've worked in a flex bone offense. And so I think that a lot of people, especially younger coaches, probably coaches that, I'm only 34, younger generation coaches, we lived with the spread. We kind of came up with the spread unless we grew up in certain areas of the country or grew up in like some rural areas. We don't necessarily understand some of the things that you can get out of these kind of old school offenses. And so for me, it was fun in 2015 to actually have to do this and get a chance to learn it. And then 2 years later, I'm in a flex bone offense and kind of going through the same thing about how to keep things simple, yet you got to kind of change the way that you play a little bit. The thing is that one, you got to stay simple, but you're probably going to have to change how you fit things. And so a lot of guys, when they do that, they want to do all these moving parts. They want guys going in all different directions, and they want, we're going to blitz this, and then we're going to have this guy come over here. And to me, what we ended up coming up with is the way that I attack any offense. It's a numbers game. Okay. The offense only has 5 eligible receivers. And they can only really go, no more than 4 on a side. And so for me is understanding, is it a quads? Is it even, what are they doing on offense, and kind of understanding how we can treat these. And especially with the wing tee and the flex bone, it's talking about reduced sets and kind of these clusters and these reductions of formations and how we can handle that and not be soft. Alignment is key. And again, this stuff isn't, it's not hard. If we line up correctly, then we're probably going to be okay as long as we fit our gap and we read our keys. And my thing, again, don't give them numbers. The wing tee is such an if-then offense. If I get this, I'm going to do this. If I get this, I'm going to do this. From what this plan that we put together, I've talked to multiple wing tee coaches. In fact, I seek wing tee coaches out. If I find out there's a wing tee coach, I go and I ask them, I say, hey, does this work, or was it an anomaly? And to a T, I have yet to have somebody come back and say, oh, we wouldn't have problems with what you did, especially the way that you're playing it. So this is a proven system. I've had several coaches that have used it and have stopped wing T teams, and it's a simple plan. And it's about being even on both sides of the ball and not really giving them any numbers, and then have one change up front and stem to it. So for us, we were a 6-2, double G, heavy 5, and 2 9s. And what we ended up doing was every once in a while we would just snap into a double eagle, and just to kind of give a nose, 2 3s, a 2 5, just kind of get everything condensed and go to a kind of a 5-3 look, and bounce a guy back. And to us, it didn't change anything in secondary because we didn't want to mess with secondary. We kind of figured, look, they got one receiver. We're going to put our best corner over there. He's going to follow him around. And then we had we actually subbed in we had a wing corner. And so he would always go to the wing, and he was more or less what you would call your Sam linebacker or your nickel. So what we did is we put our nickel down as the field corner. We kept our best tackling safety, and we put him down as a down safety. And then we had and really the way, and I'll go through the structure here, but we just kind of moved some guys around and we gave them very simple tasks, and I'll explain that. But so again, keep it simple and have one change up and stem to it. Eliminate the guards. I talked about that earlier. Is just in our double G, our whole thing was we were going to eliminate the guard. That guard was going to have the worst day of his life. And the way that we did this in practice, we actually went to our baseball coach and asked if we could get their catchers shin guards. And we sat down, we brought in our scout team offensive lineman, and we said, look, this is going to be not a fun week for you. But if you do this and we win, we'll do something special. We'll be able to go to the second round and really do something special here. And so we had buy-in from the kids, and so they ended up doing it. And then they had fun because special equipment. They get to walk out there and look goofy with catchers equipment on. And so and we worked our bear crawl, and really we wanted to cut them if we had to. If you just couldn't get to them, try and cut them. If you could get into their legs, get into their legs. And so bear crawl through. So again, it goes back to heavy fives, just crashing down on those tackles, not letting them climb up. The guards occupied because of so much pull action that you get from the guards in the wing T. And then just this low bear crawl, and it's as quick as you can penetrate. I mean, we basically took our two toughest kids, and it didn't matter. I think one was a DN. I think both of them actually were DNs. Not very big guys, but we told them, look, all you have to do is be quicker than the guard. That's it. All you have to do is watch the ball and just explode through the guard's legs. If you can do that, then we'll be fine, and bear crawl through. And so that ended up being successful for us. And then the key is just penetration. First of all, don't let them penetrate to your second level. And then second of all, you need to penetrate inside, because you may not get that first guard, but if you can penetrate, that second guard can't get around on the buck. Or if you get that, you're penetrating and you're sitting that tackle when they're running belly G, that tackle that nose is sitting right there in there for the fullback. And the belly toss, you can kind of get that penetration there sitting on that quarterback's lap. Don't overdo pressures. I think when you go in, some guys are like, look, we're going to run our base. I don't care. We're going to run it. It doesn't matter. We're going to pressure. We're going to do run blitzes. To me, we came up with very simple pressures. With as much polling as they were doing, we decided, hey, why don't we go from a 2-eye and pin the center and then send one of our inside linebackers through where the guard pulls. And if the guard doesn't pull, we just clog a gap. We're putting that, we're now going to move him, and we're just going to kind of clog a gap and just kind of occupy that area. And it's kind of like what Army has done and Navy has done when they play each other, of just kind of just sending somebody through the A gap every once in a while, just to make it, just to get some penetration and show them you're not afraid. That way, as much as the fullback is being used, stunt the line post snap. So what we would do is we had a call where we would actually shift to an over front. Like if we got a certain formation, or they had a back that they moved around because he was their best guy. So you kind of had an idea what they were trying to do. Sometimes he was a decoy, but most of the time you knew where he was going. So we had different checks to where if the back was in a certain spot and we were like, okay, we're getting zip, the zip stretch, or we're getting kind of that belly toss, then we might what I call blood. So go from this double G to one guy's going to pin the center and the other guy's going to go to a 3 technique. And so we would do some line stunts, and we would line up in different spots. Like I said, we would stem from a double eagle to get them in a trap check. And then the next thing you know, we're in double G and we're just killing the trap. Change the math to the overload size. So if they're sending quads, you got to destroy the wing. You can't put your Sam linebacker or your overhang into coverage. He's just going to have to beat it up, and he's going to have to eat up whatever he can on the edge. Destroy that wing, change the math on certain sides. If hey, okay, we get this overload. We got 4 guys over to one side. Here come, and they move their speed guy into fullback. They're like, okay, and they deepen them up. It's like, all right, here we go. Here comes the power toss. Here it comes. And so, that if you get some things like that, if just getting things, so make your pressures simple. Don't overdo the pressures. Stay even. Sorry, my screen, I messed up. But stay even. Keep the numbers on the same side. Don't overdo it. Don't adjust. Don't swing. Adjust. This is one of those deals where you got to adjust with the secondary and not necessarily with the backers. Make everything go lateral. Have a spill and kill mentality. Cut everything. Don't let anything out. Have 2 box overhangs to cut the perimeter off. Make them physical kids. And so that's kind of my 5 tips for defending the wing T. So now I'm going to go into, we're going to transition, and I'm going to show you kind of what our thought process was. So here's your typical wing T formation. So our field corner actually ended up being a safety, and he was kind of our strong safety. Our down safety ended up being, we were really blessed with a special kid. He was our jack backer in our 3-4. He was a monster kid, and we used him almost as kind of that extra lineman. So our 6'2", we had kind of our 2 speedy guys here. We took our big Mike linebacker and put him here, and we took our jack backer and used him as a down safety. The reason why I label it like this is because, okay, if I'm putting this together with my defense and I can't, my best 11 or my best 11, this is kind of where you end up. You have your field corner, your boundary corner is your best corner. He's going to follow X. Your field corner or a third safety that's really physical that can play cover 2. I mean, that's really all I say is really with this field corner is, can he play cover 2? If he can play hard cover 2 on that wing back, we're fine. We're going to cheat over to the tackle. We're going to be in 30s, and we're going to have a heavy 5, a G, and a heavy 5. And these guys are going to work through. If I get a down block, I'm crashing down and I'm trying to penetrate. If I get a base block, I'm closing off the B gap, and I'm trying to keep this guy clean. And we call this hard. So it's a cover 2 concept. We're reading the wing back. If the wing back comes out, I'm setting the edge. If the wing back crashes down, it's all it is crack replace. And all I'm doing is I'm going through right through. I'm really taking I'm going to put my head and I'm going to put I'm going to ear hole that tight end all day long. I'm not going to let that wing back get me. I'm going to ear hole him, and I'm going to get skinny, and I'm going to just try and penetrate that wing as hard as I can. I'm not worried about the pass. I've got 2 guys for the pass, and if it is pass, I got a seam player, I got a flat to wheel, and I've got a vertical right here, and then we're locked up here with him cutting underneath if it's anything short like a slant. So if we end up getting this base block, we've got guys coming. And then these guys know that if these guys step up the block, crash down the nearest hole. I want you staying for the seam, but this guy, if that back doesn't flare out or anything, man, I'm coming. Okay, now we just got the twin set. So if the wingback comes over here in twins, we're playing cover 3. So we're going to give he's going to give an under call. We're going to move over here. So we're going to basically, where's my vertical threat? Right here. Okay, the will and the down safety are looking at the halfback. If the halfback comes out, I take him. I climb the vertical here. So we end up getting, it's kind of a bastardized cover 3, because really what we're going to get is that it's going to kind of play like quarters right here. But we're cheating him into the A gap. So if anything runs over here, we're not too far out over here. We don't necessarily, we weren't getting a bunch of bubbles or anything. They were just trying to get better box numbers. But again, that Sam linebacker, I'm putting an ear hole through that tight end, and I'm looking for anything leaking out this way. And really, these guys are looking at the near back, guard to near back. So if we got any kind of pass this way, like let's say it was a corner and a flat, he's gonna take that tight end. He would end up chasing that to the flat, and we just said rally to it. So like if he could eat it up, eat it up. We're telling him eat it up, dude. It was like we told him, like, you're at the buffet, man. If anything comes to you, you eat it up. If it's a guard pulling, eat it up. If it's the fullback coming to you, eat it up. If it's the running back, it doesn't matter. The first person that comes to you, eat it up. Now we get the overset. For us, we did Zorro. Zorro was our call to bring the safety down. So that field corner, remember the boundary corner is attached to the X. So again, all this guy has to do is be able to play cover 2. So all we are doing is we're in man, we're playing cover 2 right here. So to me, we're reading him. He's ineligible. I don't really care about him, but I have to leverage I have to leverage the alley. Again, block destruction. Okay. I'm reading the quarterback. The quarterback opens up to me, get to the heel line. If the quarterback opens away from me, I'm folding in. And then we had a plus alignment because we have an overload. We have 4 guys on one side, so we want to plus that. So he ended up in a 50, and he ended up in a kind of a really kind of like a 20, a 21. You know, he's like he's on the inside. It's not necessarily a 10, but he's hanging on that guard. So again, we're like, okay, we got that overload. If they were to bring him back here for something, you know, if like, let's say it's like some flex bone stuff, you know, sometimes those wing T teams will mix in a little flex bone. So if they come back inside, we had everything ready to go for that. But again, these 2 guys are ineligible. So we're really only looking at him. If he were to go vertical, he's got him. If he comes out and they try and like crash down or anything like that, then we would fit. So now we have a reduction, and this is what I call a nasty. So it's over with a nasty. And again, I'm going to block the struck. What you don't want is to put him in here because all they're going to do is mash down, and now he's got a free release on that field corner. We wanted them to basically block down here and block out here. This was our stud. This was our best player. So we took our Mike linebacker. We just said, look, you are not going to run to the field. We're going to put our best player to a point where you're going to have to do everything in here where we're making it such a muddy mess that you don't want to even mess with anything inside. So we basically took him and said, again, he had one job, and that was to ear hole the tight end and then eat up anything that came. That field corner, again, all I got to do is be able to play cover 2. If the wingback comes to me, trap it. If the wingback goes vertical or it goes down or if let's say that he goes away, then I'm just traveling. If the wingback were to come at me, I'm walling. So, you know, and then again, we're in Zorro, and then he's looking at the H-back. You know, and so now what this does is he gives him an I'm here call, and now these guys are just fitting off of this guy. They're going guard to B-back. Okay, now is our overload. So again, the difference here is because we get an overload, they get the plus because now we've got 4 guys to a side. So now I'm going to plus alignment. Okay. And if I get anything, I'm going to fold away. And this is, so what I've noticed is like a lot of these guys, if they get this, or let's say you set your 3 over here, they're going to trap that 3 and they're going to try and come, you know, they're going to try and hit that thing here. If this guy works upfield, it ends up this huge crease right here. He's the crease holder. He's got to kick the, you know, I tell him, you know, everything hits at a 45-degree angle in this offense. You know, very rarely is anything hitting right off the midline. I mean, this isn't flex bone, so they're not running things right off the midline. A lot of this stuff is hitting right here at a 45-degree angle. So if it's trapped and it pops back this way, man, I got to be right there in case I get full flow this way. Okay, let's look at just a couple of run fits. Here's the buck, and this is how we fit the buck. This is and what I did is I just put the one play. I put a one hit of what we saw most of. So again, we've got the corner on the X. I've got my corner here. He sees motion away. He's going to loosen up. He doesn't have anybody. This is unbalanced. So again, block destruct, and then we're coming off and we're trying to fight off that tackle. If he doesn't get that guard, he's going to get the next guard. That knows if he doesn't get that guard, then I'm going, and then I'm eating up that B back that comes. And then here, if they end up blocking that tackle all the way over here, you know, I'm trying to come off and I've got first outside guy. And this was really successful for us because it was all about penetration. So that wing back comes down here. We're trying to get penetration. We wanted this guy to have to log it. And then I'm setting the point. And again, we put like another linebacker at this down safety spot so that he ended up just killing it. And so our Sam always went with the tight end, and our boundary safety kind of always went to the, you know, it changed a little bit, but our Sam always went with the tight end, and that was one of the other things that we always did. Here was one play that we got a lot was the ISO as they were trying to do this. So what we ended up doing is if he felt like he got a block back, he would try and cross face. A lot of times though he didn't, and he would just end up staying at home. But what we try to do, again, see how he's folding back inside. He goes away. I'm going to come back looking for that cut back at 45. If not, I'm coming down here. The wing back, it blocks out. Everybody's blocking out because they're trying to get it in this. Mike's destroying it. Will's destroying it. And then there's a little bit of a crease where that cover safety's hammering down, and then that down safety's coming. This was one pass that we saw. And again, you can kind of see All I got to do is be able to play cover 2. I've got the vertical. Boundary corner's got here. He's sinking. Halfback goes back. He's away. I'm looking at a 45. B comes to me. I got it. If we ended up getting some sort of a kind of a boot action this way, he worked to contain. And then the Mike would push with the back. So we ended up, they kind of had like a half roll, and they were trying to do this little divide scheme. And really they had a stud receiver that they were trying to get to the whole time. So we kind of knew if we just put our best guy over there, we'd get that. So now here's a couple of film shots that I'm going to show. So fullback trap was a big one that they got for us. So you can see right here how we were aligned pre-snap. Sam linebacker. We've got our, you got your tight end. They've got the wing wide. And I think what they were doing with this is they were just trying to widen the kid out to just get a better angle. This is the big stud kid. He's actually a starting linebacker at Arkansas. So we've got everything pinched down. Okay. And we even angled they were more of a wide split team. So we kind of angled this guy in and just hammer him down. And he was strong enough he could kind of sit in this flat stance and work that tight end. So you could get the fullback, and so they did the motion. You can see that they see the guard pull. Everybody's going outside. And what's nice is the backside linebacker stays relatively clean. Because of the angle of that 5 technique, the tight end can't get that guy. So what we end up getting is on this on the kind of this kind of belly, and they're giving this trap play. They can't block that 5 technique, and he ends up making the play, and that gives us time for our Sam linebacker to even go down the line and make the play too. And then even though our backside linebackers, our inside linebackers all overrun it. You can see the down safety folding on the end. It's pretty nice fit. And you can see what I really want you to see is watch our 2 Gs, cut that guy. I mean, even though the guard pulls, that tackle doesn't go anywhere. It can't get anywhere. You can see that backside guard. Look at how much that backside guard has to go. I mean, he's worthless. He's getting cut on the backside. And then we're overrunning the center by that guy. The one thing is that you are going to give up. The center's going to have a free release. That is kind of the one thing about it. But with the guard pulling out, that nose kind of knew that where the ball's going. So it's a nice little play on the fullback trap right there. Belly G with a zip. So we're going to get zip motion. Again, we've got the 2 heavy Gs. We got the 2 5s. We got the 2 overhangs. Okay, we got the wing. We get the zip motion. You see the belly. And we practice everything with the cut. Linebacker ends up surviving the cut, staying up, and then eating the back right there. But you can see that even if he were to get cut, we've set the edge that Mike linebacker is able to get around that wing and kind of come back. And then 30, like I said, our other inside linebacker on the right is completely free. So even if he got cut and would open, I mean, look at all the free hats that are standing around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So even if he goes down, we got 5 free hats. And look at the massive humanity here on the right because of our 2 guards. Our two twos just killing everybody. I mean, look at that pile of humanity right there. Over here. Look at all these guys laying down, and look at all these free red shirts. I mean, to me, that was our deal. Was that we were just we wanted to create free hats. Here's a look at the buck sweep. And the other thing too, you can see how they did the sugar huddle. And I think it's a big wing T thing too. It's a lot of those guys sugar huddle. For us, it was so easy to line up. We didn't have a problem. Those guys just kind of stood around. And these guys, the boundary. We had 1 corner, and he went with the receiver. And then these 2 guys just kind of went to the open side, and you could see where the tight end was coming. And so 24 would come over here, and the 17 come over here. So here's the buck. Both guards are pulling. Again, you can see that the 2-eye here on the left actually clips the guard, and he kind of stumbles. The backside G is getting washed by the center, but again, that center can't climb. It's not like he can just blow that guy back and keep climbing. The heavy 5 on the backside, you can see him coming down the heel line, and he does a great job. Look, he never leaves the line of scrimmage, and I think that's key with this is, yes, I want to get penetration, but I don't necessarily want to run upfield. Down safety checks for boot. Inside linebackers are watching. Notice how nobody touches the inside linebackers. And again, that was our key. These two guys were really quick. This kid was fantastic. He ended up playing as a freshman at the University of Lamar as nickelback for Trey Haverty, who's at SMU right now. And this kid was just a quick, hardworking kid, nothing special. And look at them; they're completely free, and we kill it on the edge. The other nice thing is that that Sam is able to redirect. He attacks that and he ear holes that tight end, but then he feels the wing back on his back. And once he feels the wing back on his back, he's going to try and fight back outside. And he's the one that actually ends up making the play. And if you notice, both inside linebackers are completely free. Now, I would say I'd like this number 22 to fit a little bit tighter. Once you see that wing back on the back of that Sam, you know that something's coming right there. Just fit off real tight to kind of help. And I'd like that number 30 to keep coming. But again, nothing. Plays dead. Here was power. They ran a little bit of power. Okay, same alignment. 10 comes off, destroys the block. You can see that the guards, again, they're trying to cut and trying to free it up. On this one, the guard actually is able to get off and get to the inside linebacker, but it's too late because our Mike linebacker sees the play. We set a natural wall up here. That kid ain't going out here. That thing's hitting right there in that phone booth, and we're going to end up making this phone booth tackle by number 22. So it's a great job. And then on the edge, you have your overhang on the other side, walling and coming through. So, again, another nice job. And I love too, if you notice, plays away. We told that down safety kid or the weak side overhang to the open side. We told him, man, hey, you get something, man, just go, get going. And so he ends up going all the way with that tight end that's right there. Okay, and last play I got the fly sweep. Okay, they sugar huddle, they come out. Okay, and we just get sweep action. Okay, so 10 was really good. He saw that the wingback came out, and he saw the zip motion. Okay, and so we knew when they put this kid here, this was their stud. When he came up here, we kind of had an idea that they might zip it. So when they did the zip motion, we had it. He gets off the block, and then he even though he gets cut right here, look, nobody is able to touch our overhang. So number 24 is our overhang. There's nobody outside of him. And look, notice, didn't get touched at all. Our Mike linebacker did not get touched at all. So again, in all of these clips, our Mike linebackers are completely free. This is a good example too of we get into a little bit of a line movement. As you can see, everybody's going. So this is one of our checks that we had. So when we got him here and we knew we were going to get something, we gave a line call, and so everybody's going in one direction and ended up being really good for us. And the play's dead. So that's kind of how we approached it. It was a great game plan. Again, I couldn't have done it without my dad. And then a couple of other coaches that we had that we talked to that came and really helped us. And everybody that I've talked to that's run the wing team, and they see this is going to be a difficult thing for them. Now, I know that guys that run the shotgun wing tee are a little bit different. You got to treat it a little different. The aiming points are a little different. It's more of a perimeter deal. But I do think the way that we set up our overhangs makes it really difficult for those guys to get outside. And that 6-2 alignment and putting those guys on that guard and constantly having guys on those guards. And then when you get a bead in, like on that last play, when you get a bead, when you know it's going to be that zip stretch, man, go ahead and get some line calls where you're either going to the field or going to the boundary when you kind of have a bead on what they're doing.
All right. Yeah, good stuff, Coach. It's interesting you talk about, the same stuff that a lot of wing T defenders or a lot of guys who see the wing T a lot will tell you, read the guards. Well, I don't know any offense myself where the guards are going to lie to you. I don't know how you feel about that, but it's not so much reading the guards, it's not letting the guards do their job.
Right.
Right. So if you know the buck sweep, one guard is kicking out, one guard's getting up through. Well, like you said, if you can play two eyes on those guys and bear crawl and keep them from doing their jobs, it's not so much knowing where the guards are going, it's keeping them from doing their jobs and keeping your second and third level defenders free.
Right. And I think that was the key that we had was it was really just we wanted to control the guards. It wasn't necessarily reading the guards. Our inside linebackers were guard to the backfield. They were trying to funnel a guy. We kept an eye on their big stud running back. Like I said, he had over 2,000 yards rushing through the season. That's 200 yards a game. So when we got to him, he had over 200 yards a game in every game that he had. So for us, it was kind of getting those fast guys. They weren't very big. And if you notice, none of those kids in there outside of our 2-9 techniques were very big. And so what we did is we took our best player and we put him to the wing or to the tight end, just said, look, you're not going to run that way. If you're going to do anything, you're going to run weak. Well, when they ran weak, they ran into our second best athlete on the team. And so, so what we told them was, you're going to have to mash and you're going to have to live mashing it in the middle. And we're going to make, as you notice in most of those clips, it was all a bunch of piles. So for me, it was like, if you're going to do this, you're going to have to just, we're not going to give you any air. And like you said, it's kind of being intuitive, not necessarily, because I do know my buddy Kenny Simpson, who's in Arkansas, he will false read the guards. And if he really feels like you're just really hammering down on those guards. So you have to be a little bit of aware of that. And those inside linebackers, if you can keep them to where they're not necessarily reading the guards, but just kind of fitting off the flow of things, then that's kind of where you can steal that if you can really control those guards with your two eyes.
Yeah, and you talk about creating a pile of humanity. When wing T teams when wing T teams are successful, they're able to get those guys to put their foot in the ground and get vertical or get a 45-degree cut. So that massive humanity, you create that pile where there go their running lanes. Now they got to do something they're not comfortable doing and keep bouncing that thing outside.
Right. And that's even like in that ISO play that I showed. I mean, that's a phone booth. I mean, those kids, that running back only had one place to go, and it was funneled to one of our better players on defense, which was our Mike linebacker. So for me, it was like we created it to where we were either funneling you to these two of our best athletes on the team, or we're going to funnel you to the best tackler on the team. Mm-hmm. And that kind of was the way that we decided is like, okay, this is who we are. And how can we kind of move guys around and put them in spots that, one, is simple, but two, that we're going to put them in places to be successful.
Yeah, and you talk about staying simple. I'm not a base 6'2" team, and neither are you. So it came down to what's the one or two jobs, the one or two keys we can give our guy to keep him from having to think too hard, right?
Right.
And it ultimately comes down to being physical, out physicaling, if that's a word, out physicaling the other team and just get those guys running laterally.
And I think what it was for us, like, we were a 3-4 team. So we had 4 eyes and we had 5s. Well, our 5s were always heavy. So that was easy for those kids. And it was nothing. It was like, look, you're just super heavy this week. And then for the guys that were inside, they had one job, and that was just to kill the guard. I mean, that was it. Just bear crawl through the guard. I don't care. Just make a pile of humanity in the middle. And then for the one kid, he was our jack backer. So for him, play away, fold back inside. That's a daily thing that we do anyway in our defense. And then for our Sam linebacker, first of all, that was our best player on the team. So for us, he could handle that. But all he had to do is really read the tight end. Tight end blocks down, ear hole him, and look for the next guy. If the tight end tries to scoop me, now I'm butting up on him, and I'm just trying to control the line of scrimmage, and he could do that. So, and then again, for that safety, it's nothing for him to end up playing cover 2, being a cover 2 corner, but just a little bit more physical. So all of these pieces, it really didn't change much for a lot of these guys. I mean, in our inside backers, we're a 3-4. We were playing a bunch of tight and a bunch of what I call Okie, 5 shade and a 3. So, I mean, those guys were used to kind of reading and flowing with the ball. So what we did was yeah, structurally we look completely different than the week before. But to us, teaching wise, pedagogy wise, we were able to take interchangeable parts and be able to be great teachers
Right.
and do that and get those kids right.
You're able to say, you know, your normal job is this. We're just moving your spot. Your job hasn't changed much.
Right.
Right. You talk about your weak side backer. For us, and our schemes were very similar to what you were talking about just now. You know, create that pile of humanity. That was our rover. You know, our weak side safety, who on a normal action away, he's inching down in the box as a cutback anyway. You know, so like you said, the job wasn't much different. It was just where you fit in your chess pieces.
Right.
Well, Coach, I really appreciate your time. Chief Pigskin, appreciate your time. By all means, and I'm gonna give you some advertisement here, Coach. If you want to know more about Coach Alexander, matchquarters.com, and then on Amazon, your 3 books, they're selling like hotcakes, right?
Yes, thank you. And again, I appreciate it. You know, like I've always kept Match Quarters free. I don't have any ads on the site, so the only way I make money off the site is if you buy a book or if you buy a template. So all I ask is that if you use something from it, get a template or buy a book, and I'm always free. You can hit me up on my DM; it's open, and through the contact form on Match Quarters. So it's not like I'm just throwing this stuff out there and I'm hiding behind it. We run everything that we do that I talk about in the Match Quarters book. Cautious aggression obviously is built off of what we've done at Baylor and then what I've done at the high school level. And then Hybrids is really a history book of where we're going and kind of giving you insight on some of the schemes that are starting to pop up and become popular.
And it's funny, everything was spread out there for a few years, and now everything's kind of coming back into the box. So
yep.
And you know, I really appreciate what you do with Match Quarters. You know, I learned a lot about coverages 4 or 5 years ago just from reading your stuff. And then you know, you talk about being open and not hiding behind anything. That's true. I mean, I had sent you messages on Twitter 3 or 4 years ago, you know, and I was nobody then. And you were more than willing to talk and help me out there. So, you know, I really appreciate that. And you sell you sell notebooks too, right? Your template notebooks.
Yeah. So I have, along with the books, I do have notebooks that I use, but I really like the notebooks that I use to write. And I've had a bunch of coaches stop me at clinics and ask, hey, how do I get one of those? And so I used to have a template on the site. And then I just said, look, I'll just make them. And so if you go to, my book, where my books are in Amazon, or my author page in Amazon, you can find I have an offensive one that's adjusted for the offense and one for the defense that you can take notes and use. And so I do that. I've got templates on playbooks, any kind of playbook. You know, most of the popular college playbooks that you see out there, I have a template that looks like that for PowerPoint that you can use. I use a Mac, so that's why I don't have Visio, and a lot of guys can't either afford Visio or don't have access to it. So I try and make everything accessible to everybody.
Well, Coach, we really appreciate your time. Real quick, your Twitter handle?
Yes, at @_coach_A.
Awesome. Thanks, Coach.
Thank you.